Alright guys, welcome to your next MEL video. In this case we're going to talk about how to create your own custom commands for your buttons and how to query and edit UI items in order to use these to your advantage. In this case what I've got is a very simple window. It's going to do something very simple. You're going to enter a name into this text field and hit the Do Stuff button. What that Do Stuff is going to do is rename the label on this button. So we're going to be querying and editing things in the exact same program. Alright, so what I've got here in my program here are a couple of procedures. Let's look at the make window procedure first, because within this is where this window is actually being created. And if we look right down here at this line 15, we have our button called Do Stuff. What that button is going to do is run the command Do Stuff. Now, if you've ever created your own button before, let me just give you an example. I'll make a button, label sphere or something like that. Now, I'm not going to run this, so don't worry. But we want to give it a command or something like that. So what I can do is command, and I'll have it just make something simple. Run the command polysphere. Okay, actually I will run this, why not? So if I hit that sphere button now, there you go, creates a sphere. That's how you create the command for a button. It's very simplistic, but in this case we're not using something that's already within Maya. Polysphere is something that gets loaded every time you start up Maya. So that information is in the memory, and when you type in polysphere, it knows what to do automatically. We need to make our own custom ones in this case. If you look at the top, we've got our own procedure called Do Stuff. So when the Do Stuff button is pressed, it runs this command, Do Stuff, and here it does appear. Okay. Now, it's going to be loaded once we run this whole program anyway. Now, you might have little procedures that you make that you have in multiple programs. In this case, it's a very small example here. We're not talking about a big collection of scripts. We're talking about a very small scale. Now, I noticed one thing just now, that I did not name the button rename me. So, rename button. That way we can actually edit it. Otherwise, it's not going to do us much good. So, let's go ahead and get started on how to query things and how to edit things. Let me rerun this just so we have an idea of what it's going to look like. There we go. So what we need to do is we need to have it so that when we hit the Do Stuff button, it's going to come up here and it's going to know what to do. What I'm going to end up doing is querying the string out of this and editing the rename me button, and I'm going to edit its label so that it changes to whatever was in there, and hopefully everything will work fine. I'm really winging this right now, so hopefully everything works just fine. So what I need to do is start querying stuff and set this string to have the exact same letters as what is in that text field. And the way we do that is we take this variable and set it equal to something that's going to be in backticks. Now, you saw these in the last video, where in between here is going to be some command. It's going to say, okay, I've got these backticks. Let's find out the result of what happens within them, and then do the equal sign. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to query the text field group that I have. So I need to say, hey, first we're going to do something with a text field group. What are we doing? Querying it. Okay. What are we going to query? Well, let's take a look at text field group and see. Text field group. There it is. And here's all the stuff that we can query from it. Now, in this case, it's going to be the text, whatever's in the field. You can see it right there. All right, so let's go back here. So I'm querying something, and I'm querying the text. Which text field am I going to query? TF1. If you look down here on 14, there's the name. Oops, sorry. All right, so notice one thing. We don't actually have any value after text. When you create something, just like command right here, well, we give it a value right after it, or label something right after it is Do Stuff. In this case, the reason why we don't have anything after is because we're not creating it, we're editing it, we're querying it. We want to know what's there. We're not going to tell it what's there. So that's the reason why it's just query text. This looks very familiar if you remember to the window query line, where it's the exact same thing, where we're querying whether or not something exists. Okay, so that string name is now going to be equal to whatever's in that box. So hopefully it's not blank. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to edit a button. And the way you do that is we'll start by using the button command and then tell it to go into edit mode. Remember, if you recall from an older video, there is creation, querying, and editing for many things in Maya. So in this case, we're now going to edit something. So what are we editing? Well, we're going to edit the label of that button. So that's dash L, not a 1. They look very similar, but that's an L. Try and learn the shorthand versions of the flags as soon as possible. It helps out a lot. So editing the label, and now we have to give it a value. Again, querying, we want to know the value. Editing, we're giving it a value. Same thing in creation. So we're going to edit the label, and that label is going to end up being $name. Okay, so again, it's going to calculate whatever this is first, and then it's going to put it, rerun that line and say, okay, we're editing it, and the label is whatever's in that box. Okay, last but not least, we need to tell it which button we're editing. In this case, I have named that button, rename button. If you look down at the bottom right here for line 17, you'll see it. So go ahead and end that. That should work if my logic is correct and my syntax. So I'll rerun make window, which is the main procedure of all this, and I'll type in Dave into that, and I'll hit do stuff, and there you go. It renames it. So I can give it a really long name of nothingness, do stuff. It renames the button for me. And that's pretty much it to it. I mean, it's a very simple process, but it's very useful. Um, I have many examples of where I find workarounds by querying and editing things just to make it do exactly what I need. Where you can, I made a script called Batch It, where it creates batch files for you, which are used in rendering. And I wanted very specific naming conventions. So what I would do is I would query the name of the file that's open and use that in conjunction with something else for maybe a specific render layer. It gets somewhat advanced, but at the same time, it's a very, very good way to do quite a few things within Maya or within MEL. Um, if for another instance would be where I made a script that played tic-tac-toe. What it did is you get an array of 9 blank buttons, and when you click on it, let's say it's X's turn, when you click on the button, it would run a series of commands, and one of them would relabel the button. It would edit the current label and make it an X or an O, depending on whose turn it was. So you can see, I mean, those are very weird examples, but it's a very useful tool at your disposal. Where you know, maybe you moved your hand and now you want to edit the exact values of X, Y, Z. Granted, we have the channel box, but if you don't have that open, you're using your own character controls. You could go ahead and do that and just have your own do stuff button that'll edit values or set attributes and things like that. So we'll do more of this within class, but trust me, this is a very useful tool to have in your arsenal. Other than that, that is it for this video, and good luck with your scripts, guys.